All right, we're live. This would be the quickest one ever. We got it. We got it. So you're in.
Oh, was that 500 already?
Well, because what happened was, I'm pretty sure Buff was watching, or Unfinished Project was watching Buff, and I knew when I saw him appear that he would get it. So there you
Oh,
are. You're at 500.
oh, cool. Let's see if I get the comments.
Twisted Mopar. If you went to the track and did shorts for one day, you'd get 100 subs, just like that. I am telling you. I'm telling you. You go to the track, and all you do is just stand right there at the starting line, film them burning out in the water box and launching, and just short after short after short. You get 100 subs like that in a day easily.
You know, I forgot what day we were going to do this. I thought it was Friday, and we're planning on going to Test and Tune Friday. So I was going to do it live from the track.
So we got the 500. We knew this would be more just social hour, but I wanted the folks to meet Scrap Iron Racing, aka Phil Landry.
Hey.
One-eyed cats that figured for the live started. Well, it was a matter of seconds. But who all do we have in here? We got to greet everybody. So we had a bunch of people early, but we've had Dr. Go was in here, Danny, Boyd, and Alva. We got Twisted Mopar Dennis, Buff's Garage, Unfinished Project. Look at that. See, I knew it. I told you that's what he was doing. He was watching for when I saw it. I knew it. He'll probably post a short of him clicking the 500. Auto Salvage Outlaws is in here. Drunken Mutt. The Drunken Mutt. I like that.
I think I missed that one.
Drunken Mutt is coming with Tadlock's Tool Shed, I think. I saw Drunken Mutt get a weekend pass together with Tadlock.
Because I don't know about everybody else, but I just searched for hashtag No Name Nationals and just pretty much subscribe to everybody that comes up.
Yeah. Oh, so by the way, if you wanna look at the channels looking for 500 on my page, just youtube.com/John Wilburn on my main page, there's all of them there, and there are now 22 because 23 Scrap Iron Racing just hit 500, so there are now 22, and I believe you're the 14th channel to make it. One-Eyed Cat, the Red-Eyed Patriot, Frank McCart Rivet in F100. Indirect Connection. Buff says I got 500 subs in 3 days after my last long video and short. It's amazing how quickly that the fortunes can change. L&A Auto Works is here, who is the last person to make 500. Bad Tree Productions Blake is in the house. Heathens something. That's right. See, there are heathens in here who are part of the crossover audience. I mean, you can't be a heathen unless you've been christened a heathen by Bad Tree Productions. But just because you're a BTP heathen doesn't mean you can't come hang out over here. See? So we have heathens in here too, but this is, the heathens can't officially assemble until their leader Blake is in here, but they can assemble here now. Buck Does It is here. Yeah. Colleen Tebow is here. Yeah, man, they're saying congratulations. This is a quick one. We knew making it midweek would be like this. I said more than likely we'll just be celebrating, but I wanted to give everybody a few minutes since we did jump the gun. I mean, we're live a few minutes early.
Yeah.
Technician Troy.
I wanted to warn everybody. Yeah, I want to warn everybody with a slant 6. We're coming for y'all. we got a flat-headed car, and I'm thinking that's the only thing we can compete with.
Oh, so you might be making slant 6 call-outs, huh?
Oh yeah.
Landon,
especially with an automatic.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Sean, the Fat Tire Guy Thomas, JB's Little Shop, Bigfoots and Mopars. See, Blake is saying assemble and lend your ears. Yeah. It's fun time. But I wanted to have you on, even though I knew you'd get your 500 quick. Uh, we want to let
Mhm.
everybody know more about who is Scrap Iron Racing. You have some really cool stuff and are doing neat things. Tell us a little bit about your program.
Uh, well, we mostly mess with flathead Ford motors and mostly race at Bonneville. Um, the car that you featured on the little promo was the Fox Body Mustang we've been running since 2013. And actually, we hold a record for that class. Just nobody runs that class because everybody at Bonneville wants to go 200 miles an hour. And the car ain't going to go 200 miles an hour with a flathead. I don't care what you do to it. And so we just try different things. We've got a turbocharged, but we're going to try E85 and nitrous. We didn't quite get around to that. And right now we got the Roadster, the 32 Roadster with the flathead, the current rebuilt that we're playing around with in the Roadster with a 5-speed. And it's fun. You know, it's not super fast, but it's different.
By the way, Blake has a good point here. When searching number 2 laptops, I couldn't find his channel. For people just walking through here, coming in and out, they may not know because they may not have caught it on the thumbnail, Scrap Iron Racing. So it's up to you. You can leave it as number 2 laptop, but you can also put your channel.
I didn't know what it was asking. That's funny.
Yeah, but my next project just stopped by all the way from Canada.
Oh, cool.
And by the way, Clay, for my next project, if you would send me a photo or two or the video link. I think you sent me the link on how to fit that A500 in the Duster. I need to see that, by the way. But yeah, so what compelled you to get into salt flats and land speed type racing? Yeah, because not many people do it. I mean, not in our circles
anyway. Yeah, well, I'm a little older, and you know, back in the hot rod magazines back in the 60s and stuff, and that was the epitome of hot rod racing and stuff. You know, we did the street rod thing for a while, or quite a while. Probably went to 10 street rod nationals and stuff. And you know, I mean, I never had super nice cars, but we would drive them. And then actually, the 32 was originally a street car, and then you know we decided to start playing around with trying to go to Bonneville. That was, you know, like for older guys, that's you know, like I said, the epitome of hot rodding is Tri Lakes racing. And it's quite a community. It's kind of like the No Name Nationals where everybody helps everybody. We've borrowed parts from our competitors, and you know, if they ask for anything, you know, more than willing to give a hand. You know, I'd be honored to help other people, you know, if they'd ask for anything. And it's been fun. You know, we find if we go every 2 years, it's financially a little bit easier, though.
You know, it is different. I was excited to see somebody out of the land speed community. I mean, the Nelsons do land speed stuff too, Nivlac 57. Bad Tree Production says of your 145 videos, which one do you highly recommend for first-time viewers? What tells
the one that's got the most? Yeah, the one that got the most views is just a video of one of my supercharged engines. It's a 30-second video, and it got 64,000 views. I didn't really pay attention at the time to see, you know, what happened. I don't know who featured it or where you know, how it took off. You know, some of the latest ones I've done. I have a 3D camera now, or a 360-degree camera, and we're still playing with that. And so, actually, the last one I did, I did a couple of little special effects on it and stuff. We raced against a guy with a power boost truck, and he claimed it's the fastest power boost truck in the nation. You know, and I think if I'd edited it better, it could do better. And that's, you know, I guess that's always.
Editing just comes on. Editing comes on over time.
Mhm.
the thing about editing is that some guys, not everybody, but a few people let editing paralyze them, and then they wind up
Yeah,
not making any content, and
yeah.
that paralysis just crushes a channel. So let
Well,
it fly,
yeah,
and just the editing will evolve over time.
yeah. The thing with the 3D camera is you get everything, and so you either don't edit it at all and just put that on, or you can do a million different things. So
Yeah.
which is pretty cool, actually.
Well, speaking of editing, I mean Blake is unusual. He's got a real talent for editing. He does more editing than normal, but he also has a talent for it and a lot of practice at it. But he's grown into
Mhm.
that. So when people look at Bad Tree Productions and say, I like the
Oh yeah,
style and I like how much they can put into their production value, do remember you don't get that on day one. It takes a lot of experience, and he's got years of experience, and he's also naturally good at it. He's very right brained,
yeah.
and but everybody, we're all at some place or another. Some people do really good to just turn the camera on and off without pictures of their feet. That's fine. We all start somewhere. And then, but the main thing is put your content out.
Mhm.
Uh, Blown Budget Garage. What's up, Randall? Technician Troy says, I struggle with editing. I don't struggle with editing. I just try not to do any of it.
Just dump it
Yeah,
all.
I don't struggle with it. I just don't do
Unless you,
it.
if you do a live,
It is the worst
don't
part.
edit them.
I agree
Yeah,
with that. Editing is laborious. It really is. Jack Stands and
I
Cinderblocks
think.
is here.
Yeah.
Love that name. Smoke Wrench. By the way, Smoke Wrench, you're now running number one. You are running first in the No Name 500. Jason's Garage. How you doing, man? All right. So I see you've got something. I was looking at your channel banner. So you've got that Mustang. Do
Mhm.
us a rundown of what's in that Mustang for those who haven't seen any of your video. Because I gotta say, you signed up with a lot of subs. You got the 500 quick. There's still a lot of people in the community that have yet to check you out and see what's going on. Give us a rundown of the Scrap Iron Garage Mustang, the red one.
Okay, well, the
What year is
Mustang
it?
has a turbocharged flathead with, like I said, we were setting it up to run E85 and nitrous. And we hold a record at Bonneville at 142 and change, I think, which, is not super fast, but for a flathead powered car, it's pretty good.
It's moving.
The actual one, the other car, if you go on my channel, the little bluish car was my old car. And actually, that was scrap iron two. Well, one. We built that one in like 10 months just to go break some records because they were all open, and so in 1 week we set 3 records. It was a lot of work because every time we'd make a run, we qualify for a new record. So you'd have to go the next morning, make a backup pass, and then as soon as we make the backup pass, we make a few changes, make another run, qualify for a record, go back to impound the next morning, repeat. So, and we were blowing head gaskets left and right. We hadn't figured that part out yet. So it was a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
Now, I don't know anything about the land speed stuff. I find it very interesting, though. I just don't know much anything about it. So you got to make a backup. Now, I know that what's traditional, let's say at a NHRA national event, most people are familiar with that. At the same event, you have to make a 1% backup in the same event, right? Okay. But when you're saying you got to back up to make a record run, what you say it's the next day? Explain to us what the process is for backing up your run.
Well, okay, let's say the record is in our class would have been 142 even. Well, we
Okay.
make a run, anything over 142, you qualify for a new record. Well, then you go to impound. You can do a limited amount of work on the car, I think for like 4 hours. You can't change the whole motor, but you could, set the valves, do some, piddling kind of stuff. And then the next morning at 7 o'clock, pretty much everybody lines up, goes back to the start line. Everybody who's in impound, everybody goes back to the start line, and you have to back up your record where the average of the two runs is still higher than the previous record. It doesn't have to be a percentage. It can be a tenth of a mile an hour, you know. And if you're a tenth of a mile an hour short, you're short, you know, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Actually, in the video that the guys from Roadkill did on their Bonneville car, when they were in impound with their Camaro, they panned across to look at another car across from them. We were parked next to that car. So we're like for 2 seconds, you can see the Mustang, you know, if that long.
That's
And
different.
yeah,
That's neat. But your
yeah,
event,
you see they,
are they over 2 days? You say you have impound and you have the
oh
next day?
no, it's speed week is the whole event. So they start running on Saturday. No, if the weather is good, they start running on Saturday and run till the next Friday afternoon.
Wow.
And it's, you know, it's a long time, but you've got time to fix stuff, you know, if things go bad. The problem lately, well, the last year it rained, and you'll see one of the videos on my YouTube channel is we're getting out. We had to go get the car, and it was like 6 inches of water. I mean, literally, we drove through salt water to get it out. That was a total disaster because, you know, you drive all the way. It's about a 3-day trip for us. So, you know, and then we don't have it as bad as other people. I mean, people come from all over the world, you know, Japan and Australia, and regularly, you know, there's a group like that, you know, and they really got screwed. But it's kind of the way it goes, you know.
It's the way it goes.
Yeah.
And so the flathead, is that just an extension of because you ran flatheads, you know, from your youth?
Well, again, yeah. Well, again, that's the original hot rod motor, really. You know, that it all kind of the same attitude about, like I said, the Bonneville racing, you know, in the especially in the 50s. That's what everybody ran, you know, in the early 50s. And at Bonneville, actually, I think originally there were different flathead classes for different size engines. Even it was, you know, there were multiple classes.
Right.
And then now it's just one flathead Ford Mercury class, basically. You can, if you run Arden heads or, you know, overhead conversion setup, it's a different class.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and there's like 400 classes for cars, so you can find some little niche if you really try. From what I understand, if you really want to set a record at Bonneville, get a motorcycle. You can. There's 600 classes for motorcycles, so you can put like a turbocharger on a Harley flathead. I think the record was like 60 miles an hour or something silly. You know, I think it's at one time. And I don't know about now. There's always somebody going to swoop in and figure it out, you know.
Well, so I'm curious too, because where you run, so how, and again, I'm asking basic questions. I've never been to a land speed event. How long is your track per se, and how do the runs work? Like
Oh, okay.
how does the whole
Well,
process work compared to, say, let's just compare it to, say, a drag strip where you're in the pits, you go to your staging lanes, you run your track, you have your return road. What's the comparable equivalent to making your run in the land speed
okay,
side?
over there at Bonneville, there is a pit area. It's basically miles from the start, and you cannot drive your race car anywhere other than on the racetrack. So you have to tow the car to the start line, and then, you know, you can make your run, and then you have to go retrieve your race car and bring it back to you can get back in line or go back to the pits and work on it. We typically just get back in line and work on it there because, especially early in the week, you're in line quite a bit. The first time we went, they only had one course, and we were in line for like 8 hours, and it was like, I'm never coming back. It was just, you know, terrible. But then by Monday, people start going home, they break stuff, and they got to get back to work. So then, you know, it got a lot better. Then you were only in line for maybe an hour, you know. And I think in 2000 we went back with the car. We had it running good, another car. and we made 16 runs. We made more runs than anybody. And anyway, they have typically when they can, they set up two courses. There's a short course and a long course. The short course is basically 3 miles. It's timed, and the two, I think a 2.25, and that's basically just to let you know if for tuning, if you're accelerating or slowing down, and then they time you again to 3. And then on the long course, they time you at the 1, 2, 3, I think all the way to the 5. And it's not as long as it used to be when the salt conditions were better. I think they used to have a 9-mile course, but they don't go that far anymore. And then like on our cars, we always run the short course. You have to go 175 on the short course to qualify to go on the long course, because they don't want little piddling cars taking up all the time.
Right.
So we've yet to have anything that fast, and so we'll typically run on the short course and run it all the way to the 3, and it's the traction could be a problem. We had weight distribution problems with the car we didn't know about, and we were just spinning the tires for a couple of years. We didn't, we would run great, and we get back to the pits, and actually we'd argue with the timing officials. It's like, the car ran great. It's like, well, something's wrong. And then we finally found out it was way too much weight on the front end of the car, not enough on the back. And then when we finally got the car running good in 2019, it rained early, and we only got like 2 days of racing in, and it was like a wet gravel road. And we actually bumped our record up that year, but it was hard. I mean, it was white knuckle, making sure you didn't spin. And spinning over there is not really horrible, because basically you just go in a little loop. And unless you're going really fast and air gets under the car, and then all kind of bad things can happen. And that's the ones you see on videos where the cars get destroyed and everything.
So what is, I was just thinking the same thing, is the speeds you're running. What is a wreck like, out there? I mean, I'm assuming you've got your safety crew that comes out and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I spun the car one year. I wasn't on the course. What happens is they drag a section of salt, and they make it pretty nice, and then they will drag another section for like the next day, figuring we'll move it over. And that year they just put flags up. Sometimes they used to put lines down, and I don't know. You got so many things going on. I drove to the right of all the flags, because that was where they'd already drug it for the next day. So it was pretty nice until I got to about the 2.5 mile mark, and I hit a soft spot. Ooh. And I got the video on one of the videos. The car spun, and I just made one revolution, and it killed it. And the safety crew came over, and the guy asked me, "Do you know where you are?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." "No, you're off the course." I was like, "What?" He said, "You ran over all the timing of the wires." It's like, how did I do that? So I look back at the video, and you can see the flags are over there. And so it was interesting. It looks way worse on video than at the time. I mean, at the time it just happened. But on the video, the car, kind of did that more than I realized. And that year in particular, they give you a little spin sticker to identify your car as having spun, and you got to go back through inspection and tell them what you're going to do different. I told them, well, I'd pay attention, And
well, how do so you got your spin sticker, and that's like your badge of honor, right?
Yeah. That's well, they ran out of spin stickers that year. It was so bad. So.
I would just get it over with. I'd go get it first. I'd do some donuts.
Yeah, I don't know if it's Yeah, it's one of those things you do it and it's like, well, I don't want to do that again, but it wasn't horrible, you know. You know.
How do you set up a car for that? Because looking at your picture, um, when I look at like the pictures of the car, obviously you run narrower tires, stuff like that. What kind of tires do you run? What kind of gearing do you run? Tell us the differences between
What most of the guys do
a
that
Landsmark and a
I know is they run front runners, Goodyear front runners, all the way around. Um, Now, what they'll do for traction is typically, if you've got enough horsepower, they'll add a lot of weight. Some of the cars are really heavy. I mean, thousands of pounds heavier than a street car or drag race. Drag race and this is not very much alike. Now, we don't have a very high powered car. So what I was gonna do, and I was halfway through the project, um, the cooling system on the car was just a 15-gallon water tank in the front. So I
right.
was going to basically move that to the back and just put some pipes that ran all the way to the back of the car.
Now
The thing
you're
about
doing
bottom,
like a demo derby. You just have a giant tank with no radiator.
yeah,
This
yeah,
the temperature just rises gently, but it's in gallons and gallons of water.
yeah, yeah.
That's
And,
cool.
and and there's ways you can figure how much water you're going to require and stuff. And
But
I
that
just
way
took
you
a
can run a closed grill for a better aero, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, see, the class we run in is altered, and you can close the grill off and stuff. Now, if you were running gas coupe, like I said, there's 400 different classes. So the gas coupe, you can't cover the grill or the headlights. Yeah, we went from gas coupe to altered by simply covering the headlights. But then you can do other things. So we could actually back the motor up a little bit, but we didn't do any of that. I mean, it would require a lot of work, you know, cutting the firewall and all kind of crazy stuff. But yeah, and so the like I said, the last thing we were going to try was moving the water tank to the rear, trying to get more natural weight on the back end. I had added like 300 pounds of lead, so I was going to take that out, and hopefully the adding the water to the rear and a couple of other things we were going to do to lighten up the front. Um, I had an intercooler system, and we kind of took all that out. I don't know. We were gonna with the E85, we were hoping the car would run cool enough to take care of itself. The problem we've had is super high exhaust gas temperatures, probably from too much timing. Because basically, we either run supercharged or turbocharged, and we crack blocks like this. You know, a normal human being would quit by now. But eh, you know, I think
You're
the
going to
last
make it happen.
motor, no, the last car in the motor, we with like a few other ones, we cracked it at all 8 exhaust valves. I think you crack it between the exhaust valve
Now,
and the bore, and it's pretty much done.
now, just to remind the folks in the chat, when you're running a flathead, your valve seats are on the block; they're not in a head.
Yeah,
So just
yeah.
reminding people, so people who've come in here. And by the way, speaking of that, I want to make sure to greet some people who've slid in here while we've been talking. Clint Street Machines got in here, and Ed's Machine, NSB Custom Cars, Big Mike's Hoopty Barn. Glad to see Big Mike turning it up, getting ready for the No Name Nationals. Turbo Tom is in here. Blown Budget Garage says he's not registered until he gets a rear end he can compete with. All righty.
Got 100 days.
Let's see here. Who all else sneaked in? Yep. Bad Tree Productions talking about you running ethanol. Ethanol is interesting to me. All right.
We just kind of
Thumper's in
started
here.
it.
Yeah, see, look at that. We talk about ethanol, Thumper appears. I don't know if you've seen his channel, but Thumper grows his own fuel. And we had a really interesting live stream with Thumper on this channel. And we all we did was cover ethanol fuel. It was interesting. It was very interesting. So the whole show was with Thumper talking about ethanol fuel. Very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
How to grow it, how to pay for it, the whole thing. It's great.
about as far as we got was I had a blow through carburetor set up and everything, and started the car with it. But that was the motor that was already hurt pretty bad. And when I pulled the motor apart, it was like, well, this ain't gonna work.
So what has been your well, first of all, how does that flathead fit in that Mustang? That one's what I'm just curious.
Well,
How
look at
does
that. Well, the exhaust was easier to run out the front. Like a lot of swaps that go into the Mustang. It was easier to go out the front with the exhaust system. But other than that, I basically adapted it to a T5 and put the T5 where it would have been in the Mustang. So everything forward was predicated by where the transmission fit. And so I made motor mounts for it and stuff. I'm a machinist by trade. I work on machine shop equipment. So the fabricating part is what I really like. That's why I don't drive a street car anymore. It's more just the fun of working on the car, making things.
Turbo Tom, by the way, I'm not sure if you're familiar. He has a 1916 Model T. Found running it lean, made it run hotter. There's Mean Street Mopar. Glad you could join us, man. Mm-hmm. Turbo Tom and Mean Street Mopar. They like a turbo. They're waiting to come on at the end. Turbo Tom still needs 161 subs. And Mean Street Mopar's got a longer road, but he can do it. I'm watching for him to run through the field. He needs to do it. Backwoods Custom Crap says a flathead is the only way to make a Mustang cool. You think that sentence has ever been said before? That might be original.
Well, that's one thing. I think we have the world's fastest Mustang with a flathead in it.
You may.
Probably the only one.
Yeah, this event could be the only event that's ever had a flathead powered Mustang, a U-Haul, a 1916 Model T. We don't lack for originality.
Yeah, we're gonna bring the Roadster though, the 32. That's our plan. We're gonna bring the 32 Roadster with the flathead in it. Okay. Plan B is we have a 347 for it, but I'm hoping the flathead is still running by September. So.
Okay.
So far, so good. Well, yeah, we've been to testing 2 and 3. Go ahead.
Well, I tell people the main thing is make sure that you guys come. The way I look at it is I just want to make sure all the people come to it. We have a great time. The cars will come with the people. And if they don't make it one year, they'll make it the next, or different cars or whatever. But the event doesn't revolve around cars. A lot of other events revolve all around cars. This event revolves around the people. So let's say that everything you have is blown up and you're like, I'm going to get a Camry rental car. Come on, because we want to meet you.
Cool. Yeah, we like I said, we've been to Blytheville a few times, so we kind of know where to go. We just keep past Blytheville up with another hour and a half, maybe, or something.
Yeah, so you're in Louisiana. What area in Louisiana are you guys?
Lafayette, Louisiana. It's kind of halfway between New Orleans and Houston, I guess you could say, on I-10.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, actually, we went to that little museum in New Madrid. Is that how you pronounce it? They have a earthquake.
The fall.
Yeah, they have an earthquake museum of all things. Mm-hmm. We got a rain out one day. We went up there for that. It was kind of neat. The closest I've been.
Blown Budget Garage. He can't bring the Dart because he doesn't have an axle housing that'll hold it, but he can bring the Plymouth Reliant. Okay, man. All right. We'll figure that out. Now, Big Mike's Hoopty Barn says, hopefully you'll have the 32 and we can line up with my 31.
Oh, okay.
That'd be interesting.
Oh, yeah. I saw his project.
Smoke Wrench Garage is love to have a 2-door Diplomat. Diplomats are cool. They've always been something about those cars, but they look cool now. Why not Blown Budget? Or a line is cool. I think they're neat. Mongrel's Garage, vouch for just showing up. Mongrel's Garage caught a flight in from Canada, borrowed a Mustang from Big Block 402, and had a good time and is coming back. In fact, Mongrel's was the first channel registered this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how many do you have right now?
We have a lot of channels registered, but we also have a lot that drag their feet till the end. So we're going to have a better turnout than last year. Last year we had 105 channels on the track, and then we had about 200 channels total because a lot of them didn't bring cars, but did bring cars. The number was 105. This year we should easily exceed that this year by a little bit, but we don't always know because some people don't want to register till they're heading out, and then some people register before the website's even updated with the cart. We've had 20 some people trying to be first this year, so we'll have a good crowd. I would say you'll probably have a couple hundred channels there if you want to just put a number on it. But last year we had 105 on the track. It was a great crowd. Should be a little bigger this year. We'll see.
It looked like a hell of a time.
Never show up right. Yep. Some people are going to have cars that don't run till the day before, or some people won't have cars run till the year after. You just never know.
Never run again.
That's just the way it works. That's it. See, Ron English, spectator last year, part of the pit crew this year. And if he builds a channel now, he can be a participant like his brother next year. And all the spectators were in the pits, not the stands. Right. We actually had a good gate there last year. We went to settle up with them on Sunday. They said, we're surprised how good the gate was because nobody was in the stands. They were all in the pits talking to content creators.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I like to engage with the chat a little bit. If anything you see in there you want to address, feel free to, because we've got a good collection of folks here tonight. Mongrel's Garage is talking about people getting their car running while there. Indeed, Buff's Garage literally did that. I remember.
Yeah, we went to, well, I hate to keep going back to that. We went to Bonneville 2 years ago with 2 cars. That was a disaster because one of them, the transmission didn't work, and the other one, underneath the supercharger, the gasket had blown out and it was running lean, and we couldn't figure out why. It just kept, no matter what we did, it kept running lean. And I don't think we'll ever try that again.
So what is the worst, like the worst failure, parts failure, whatever you've ever had doing land speed stuff? Like, because, I mean, you're on the throttle a long time on those cars.
Okay, well, 2 years ago when we brought 2 cars, the Roadster had a flathead naturally aspirated motor in it, which you would think, how hard can that be on the car? Well, my grandson wanted to drive. So that was the impetus behind bringing that car. And make a long story short, I drove it once we finally got some things worked out. Then he drove it. My son drove it. Another guy drove it. When we got to the 5th driver, you would think he would have been paying attention. I told him all to do is you start it in neutral and you pull the shifter back once and it'll take off. It's a C4 automatic. Well, what happened was he started in neutral, pulled it back once, it didn't move. So he pulled it back twice. He took off in second and stayed in second. Well, that motor can't do 5,500 RPMs for a mile and a half, obviously. And we had to go retrieve him, you know, so we're heading out that way. And I could tell what happened at the start. You know, the car just kind of took off lethargically and you never heard it shift. And, you know, it's kind of happened before at the drags and it's not that big a deal. But when you go for that long a period of time, well, when we've got close to them, the safety people are waving at us like, come get the car, you know. So we drive up and you can go on my YouTube channel. There's a piston hanging out of the block. He grenaded that motor. It lost 1 cylinder, half a cam. I mean, the motor is total destroyed. And the more I thought about it, I really couldn't be mad at him because we hadn't trained really any of the drivers well enough. We didn't have what I consider an adequate enough fire system. The car could have caught fire easily because it doused the whole side of the car with oil on the hot headers and everything. And that could have happened to my grandson. If he'd have done the same thing, probably would have had the same result. And I don't think we showed anybody how to work the fire system well enough. So the whole thing was quite a learning experience. We doubled the fire bottle system. Um, when we go to the drags, they look at the car and go, "Oh, you're way over." The tech inspection people were like, "Oh yeah, go ahead." I mean, we've got way more stuff than they normally require at a drag strip. And so anyway, from now on, if we do let other people drive the car, we're gonna make really sure that they understand, everything to do. And if something isn't going quite right, you know, turn off. We'll let you go again. It's not that big a deal.
What
So that was
transmission rear gears do you run?
well in the Mustang we have, yeah, in the Mustang we have a T5, and I was going to try running a 3.0 gear in the rear end because fifth gear is now close ratio five speed is 0.79, and we're going to try to maybe keep the RPMs up a little higher. I don't know. It's always a guessing game. I think in the Roadster that year that we blew the motor up, I think I had a 275 gear in the rear end with a C4 automatic, and that was actually probably too low a gear. It really didn't go that. It never got really going. I don't think. We only went like 115. Now the thing is too, up there, you're running it when in the heat of the afternoon. You're running at like a 7,000-foot air density altitude. So it really kills the horsepower on a naturally aspirated car like that. So what probably started out at 160 is like 120 or something. I mean,
yeah, I'm just curious about how you decide to set those up. It's I don't know. I find it interesting. 142 miles an hour is a lot of mile an hour. I mean, what's the fastest you've been complete overall in anything you have?
well, the exit speed on that run, we have a little digital speedometer. I was doing 155 on that particular
55.
run.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the only time I really noticed.
Man, that is moving.
When I spun a couple of years ago, I was doing 130.
Now, how much room do you have to stop?
Oh, got miles. I mean, it's not much problem for us. The car's not that fast, so slowing down is not that big a deal. The faster cars have parachutes and all kind of stuff. And years ago, they used to do this kind of, well, I'll say strange thing now. They would run one way for your qualifying run, and then the next day they would turn it around and you'd run back towards the highway. And we were there when a car qualified for a record at 350. And when he pulled the parachute's ripped off. Because part of the reason is that there's no other place to test that. Where do you test the 300 something mile an hour land speed car for parachutes, and stuff? So some of their techniques obviously didn't work. So he came back the next morning and he's heading towards the highway now. And same thing happened. Parachutes ripped off, and he made a long turn, and everything was fine. I want to say later that year there's another event, the World Finals or something. Well, from what I understand, he had the same thing happen at over 350 miles an hour, and he got killed. The car barrel rolled, and he died in the car. So it when people talk about, oh, well, you're not doing nothing, you're not doing 200 miles an hour is quite a step up from what we're doing, and I'm pretty leery of trying that, because it's dangerous. I mean,
yeah. The guys in our community doing the land speed now, Nivlac 57. I don't know if you've seen their channel, Nivlac 57. They do land speed stuff. They also do a lot of drag racing.
Check it out.
Yeah, and you know, Calvin Nelson, Andrew Nelson, he was at sick week in February, and on the third run for this 19, I think it's a 1959 Volvo they have. On the third run, the car
Oh,
went
yeah,
left and barrel rolled over the wall at 150.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you
he
know,
got
but
hurt pretty bad.
safety equipment's important.
Yeah.
So while real quick, let's look at the chat. I see everybody trying to help Randall with blown budget garage find a rear end. Two things, Randall, you can always run an 8 quarter. It would do everything that car ever needs. And two, this is a content creator family reunion. It's about being there, not about parts on the car you don't come. So just keep that in mind.
Mhm.
If you can't show up, if you don't think you have enough housing for the car, then it probably isn't the kind of event you're looking for anyway. This is a content creator or family reunion. Show up with what you have, and then that's what it's really about. But I see mostly old
Yeah,
parts for us
good
here.
8.8 rear end.
Yeah, you can run an 8.8. Let me tell you, that's a fantastic solution for those Dodges. I mean, I'm a Mopar guy, but the 8.8 is a good way to go.
I think my brother had one for a little while. He was playing around. He was going to maybe put it as Mustang. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he did with it.
With an 8.8, you can get disc brakes. You get whatever the Ford's Pause traction was. You get a lot of gear. They're very strong and they're dirt cheap. You get all of that. Dart Freak, you know what, Randall? Dart Freak 75 is a channel here on YouTube. He put an 8.8 with disc brakes in his 75 Dart and did it in the driveway. No special tools. Just welded it. Said
In
everything.
In the same bolt pattern too.
It's 4.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can do that. You can do that, and it fits beautifully. You wouldn't believe how well an Explorer rear end fits in a Dart. It just fits. So Randall, there's something there's an option for you.
I think my brother might have paid $150 for the one he picked up.
Right, exactly. They grow on trees.
And it was like a 3.7 something gear, posi unit, everything. I mean, it was a pretty good setup.
Yep. Yeah, Patrick's saying 8.8 with 2 short axles. Exactly.
Oh yeah, that too.
But anyway, the main thing is just getting there, because if everybody was dependent upon having the exact hand of cards they wanted to show up, nobody would show up, because everything we're doing is kind of a work in progress. Nobody has everything the way they want it, each year, but each year it keeps growing and changing and evolving. That's the idea.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good question from Junkyard D. I've heard the salt flats are shrinking. Is there truth to that? And do you see them shutting them down or regulating them more anytime soon?
I don't know. I mean, everybody has an opinion on that. And if you look at some of the really old articles from the 40s and 50s, it's obvious that the salt flats are not as big and thick as they were. But I've been going since 2000, and there's good years and bad years. They've had 2020, I think the salt was really good. Now, I don't know how thick it is. And some of the complaining about it drying up and all that can maybe backfire and them regulating the racing more. I don't think the racing has much of an effect as some of the mining and things that they do. And again, if they don't pump, they do this thing where they flood the salt flats and then they pump out the water and get the brine out of the water, from what I understand. And they really don't want the salt. They want the potash and other stuff that's in there. And if they don't do that, it's a negative also, so because the water smooths it out. It's interesting for sure.
I've never seen it in person. I need to do it. Everybody says you should do that.
Well, you know, I'm kind of biased, but Speed Week is just the greatest show on earth.
That's what
You
I
know,
hear.
it's
That's what I hear.
there's so many imaginative people that will come up with the strangest things you've ever seen. We've seen rubber band powered cars. I want to say somebody had an air powered car, and I've seen other pictures from years gone by where people would try to run certain things. And this one guy had a tank engine with basically a front and rear suspension bolted onto it, and they were like, "No."
We
You know,
we we have just a few more minutes because I got to shut down. I'm going to be on Tech Talk Live with Professor P. Shane Polito at the top of the hour. So if any of you guys have any questions, we got just a few more minutes. But let us know. It's this soft flat talk is interesting. But if you have any questions, go ahead and get them in. I need just a few minutes between now and, like I said, I will be live with Professor P. Tech Talk Live on Wednesday night. We're going to be discussing bearing clearances and measuring plastic gauge versus mic in the bores, etc. It's a timely topic, as you know, so we'll be getting into that. Smoke Wrench says
I'm looking forward.
congratulations on the 500 because Smoke Wrench is hot on your heels. Smoke
So
Wrench,
am
Smoke Wrench, you're going to be here, I hope. I'll be reaching out to you very shortly.
I really appreciate you doing this, John.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on. This is a lot of fun. We just have so much diverse talent and different stuff in this community. It's fantastic.
Yeah, you see, Dougster Wolverine Garage. The thing about a red hat is you have to set a record over 200 miles an hour. And there are minimums in almost every class. In other words, you put a big block in a Camaro and make it a little aerodynamic and thinking, well, I'll go 200. Yeah, you probably will. The record's 350, that kind of thing. The Roadster, we brought the Roadster last year when we got rained out. We had the 347 in the Roadster, and we were hoping to do 170. The record in that Roadster class with a 350 cubic inch engine is 255. So you've got to beat 255 to get the red hat. And that's no small feat, when people have been doing this for a number of years. Because and then there's a few people walking around with blue hats, which is just ridiculous. They've gone over 300. And I think there's a few that have, I don't know if it's a black hat or something that have gone over 400.
I think at over 400, you can wear any color hat you want.
Yeah. Yeah. You're pretty much a badass there, right?
Yeah. That's some crazy fast numbers.
Yeah.
It does. It's pretty wild. I'd like to go 200. I've never been 200. I'm not giving up on that. We'll see.
Yeah. It would have to be something I worked my way up to and be really comfortable in, I think. One of my friends from Louisiana, Boogie Scott, he's a longtime drag racer, is in the NHRA Hall of Fame, used to run Top Fuel dragsters back in the day and stuff. He had built a car for Bonneville, but he had built it like a drag car, and the car just wouldn't hook up. And finally, some people told him, look, you got to add weight. And I think he added maybe 800 pounds, and the car just hooked up and went like 240 or something. And at one point, we were coming back from Bonneville, and he was talking to me about maybe driving where I could drive the car. And I was like, don't know. I have to talk to the wife about that. It's like, he's been doing this all his life. I think he's been building cars since he was 16, and he's probably in his mid 80s now.
I tell you, it is amazing when you see some of these guys. They get decades and decades and decades of experience. What they choose to do, because when some of these guys have done everything, it's amazing what they're happiest doing, which is hopefully what they're doing in their 80s.
Yeah. Well, the thing at Bonneville, you don't need the super quick reaction times and all that like in drag racing. And, you can be competitive. I mean, other than maybe the highest levels, even at the highest levels, there's people. I forgot Ed's name. Ed Upland. He runs a streamliner that is in the 400-mile-an-hour group, and I think he does it all on his own dime. And that's not easy, It's a twin
No,
turbo big block or something.
that's a lot of maintenance.
Yeah, he's a really clever guy, though. I mean, I think he builds hot rods and stuff for basically a living.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is neat. There is so much more to ask you about land speed stuff and salt racing and this kind of high speed stuff. It's interesting. I'd like to do this again, but we need to wrap up because I'm going to be over on Slant Daily Garage's channel here in about 15 minutes. But this has been great, and congratulations on 500. And been a fun and a little bit different crowd tonight because I hit them at an odd time of the week for me. So got some new faces in here tonight.
Well, thank you very much again, John. It's a
Thanks,
pleasure.
Thanks for being on. We're out, and I will see, I guess, whoever wants to show up over on Slant Daily Garage at the top of the hour. We'll see y'all later.
I'll see y'all there too. Thank you, John. Again.